You know what time it is.
What's up, beer people?
If you heard it on the hashtag beer time, it's true.
It must be true.
It's true. It is fact. Please, won't you name one of your beers cart horse?
And just do something terrible. Just shit beer.
Stick your finger in there every now and again.
Stir it with a sock.
Every show, it feels like my first show.
Every show is a new adventure.
We're having some good conversation here, Mr. Troy.
Did I make sense there? I think I did.
I love them all.
Are we all fair?
Hello, all you crazy people. Welcome to another episode, another podcast of Hashtag Beer Time with me, T-Bone Troy, the show where we talk about all things beer. In this podcast, I have an absolute cracker lined up for you. We speak to Mr. Rory, the founder, the owner, the brewer of Aegir Project, located in the deep south of Cape Town, South Africa, a place nestled amongst the ocean and the vegetation. And we chat to him about his journey into craft beer, his reasons why he started the brewery, why it took him so long, where he worked before, and just how he lined things up, which I thought was very interesting in that he didn't race straight into it, but he took his time in planning his business. And one of the other things we chat about is the awesome designs that he has on his labels, which I think are world-class. Speaking of world-class, his beers are amazing. We get to try some of them. I get to enjoy most of them. And another subject that we touch on is his decision to exit the trade, specifically not distribute any kegs or bottles, but his decision to focus solely on his brew pub and his new upcoming brew pub in a different location. But it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting subject, which I think a lot of other brewers around the world are facing, and it's something that we can all take heart and listen to. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. I know that I enjoyed it. As always, let me know what you think. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it is time for one thing and one thing only. It's hashtag beer time, Two Oceans Vibe Radio. Hello, how are you? Have you missed me? I have missed you. Feel good music. Yeah. If anyone wants to know, this is the soundtrack to Doogie Howser. I don't know Doogie Howser. My wife was a big fan. She watched the program. Anyway, we are going to talk about beer today because that is what we do here on Hashtag Beer Time. Thank you, Mr. Music. Speaking of Mr., let me get into inviting or welcoming our guest, which I have wanted on the show since I started, which was a year ago. And he is none other than Mr. Rory from Aegir Brewing Company. Aegir Project, independent brewery. Hello, Rory. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you sound fantastic. Now, we were saying off air that I've been doing this for a year. I cannot believe it's taken this long. I think we need to celebrate. Let's open a beer. Let's crack one open.
Yeah.
What should we have first?
Well, about a couple. I think we maybe just start with a steam beer. A little California steaming.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Let me crack that open.
A good one just to start with.
Am I correct in saying these are new labels?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that later. Because the one thing I've liked about, one of many things that I've liked about your brewery is that's got some pretty sick labels.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on them, so I'm glad you like them.
Yeah, no. I will say from a design background, I approve.
Yeah, cheers.
Okay, so while I'm pouring this, tell the listeners, what are we drinking?
So right now we're drinking the California Steamin'. It's a beer that was made famous in California by a company called Anchor. Cheers.
Anchor, that's the one.
Anchor Steam. Surprisingly, I actually fell in love with it over in Scotland. And when I came across it, I knew I was coming home to a lager drinking country and thought I'd bring it home. And it was a different take on a lager.
Am I correct in saying this is the champagne of the beer world? Because is there legal attachments to the word California Common or steam beer?
Steam beer, yeah.
So we can't call it a steam beer.
No. So what we've actually done is we've taken the label, and we've got the Californian flag, which is a brown beer, and we turned him into a steam bear instead of a steam beer. So I find it hard to pass up a good pun. So
see now,
lightly treading on toes.
I can't believe I never actually figured that out, but that is brilliant, and I know that all the beer fans, all the beer nerds listening would love that. I think that's a really cool story.
Yeah, so it's basically it's a lager. It's 100% a lager. Lager yeast, lager recipe, just fermented at much higher temperatures. So I get quite romantic with a lot of the brews. So I've gone 100% Northern Brewer single hop.
Okay.
And then fermented it very traditionally at much higher temperatures.
So what is that temperature as opposed to a normal lager temperature?
Lagers are usually around about sort of 13, 14. That's probably the upper end.
Mm-hmm.
But this starts off around about the 21 range, and then we gradually drop that down to sort of 18, and then we go. So the main.
Sorry to interrupt. The main difference is between this lager and a, let's say, mainstream lager is the yeast. Is that pretty much it?
No, it's exactly the same yeast.
Okay.
It's just that it's been fermented at higher temperatures. So the yeast adapts to its environment and actually releases different flavors. So
okay.
It's not as it gives you slightly more estery flavors.
So one could be tricked into thinking this is a ale.
Yes. So it's
which I'm sure people have asked.
Absolutely, it's quite widely just regarded as a hybrid between ale and a lager. Yeah, but as I say, we go very, very romantic with it. So we gone 100% Northern Brewer, and we lager this for quite a while.
What's a while? As opposed to normal.
Normal ales usually like a week or two in tank for second fermentation through its maturation. Where this is round about 3 to 4 weeks in maturation after fermentation. So just to give you all those little clean it up a bit, basically.
Okay, so when you say clean it up, that's would you get rid of something like the butterscotch, the spicy, any?
That will actually happen during the fermentation.
Okay.
So you do a diastole rest, and that gets rid of all of that sort of stuff. What it does do is it goes from like the best way to explain it is a green beer to a bright beer. So you'll taste the beer and you'll actually taste, oh, that's too young.
Yes.
And it just needs a little bit of time.
And correct me if I'm wrong. A green beer. It's called green because it should taste like green apples, and that's how you know the beer is young. It hasn't gone through full fermentation.
Yeah, that's a bit of a different apple flavor.
Okay.
Different green flavor, but it's more of just you'll taste that it needs more time, and that's one of those things that you'll do just over years. You'll start to pick up when the beer's ready to package. Yeah.
Learn something new. Well, I'm at least learning something new on my own show every day. Okay, so this is a delicious beer, and it does have a nice orange glow to it.
So we bottle condition all our beers, so it's a little bit hazy from the walk up. Or the yeast is kicked up a little bit. But yeah, we bottle condition our beers, which is very much you touch on the champagne.
Yes.
So we basically give the yeast a little bit extra food, bottle it up, cap it, and it naturally carbonates itself in the bottle, much like champagne.
Weird question, but do you measure the amount of yeast that goes into the bottle? Is that a thing that brewers can do?
Absolutely. I've gone to the point where we probably do that every fourth or fifth brew, but it's just a viable yeast that will actually that you're looking for.
I suppose it all depends about the yeast in suspension.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you bottle it, because there might not be any collecting at the bottom, but after it rests for 24, 48 hours, you'll start to get that little collection at the bottom.
Some brewers will actually add yeast if they need.
Yes.
We've never had to, because we don't filter or pasteurize, so it's all very much a live beer.
Well, I know that, obviously coming from a homebrew background, you add that sugar just to kick up that yeast again, just to activate it when you bottle it so that it does create that natural carbonation. Okay, cool. I'm enjoying this beer.
Yeah, it's going down a bit too fast, actually.
Nothing wrong with that. It is midday. Oh, yeah, I suppose it is Tuesday, but that's fine. So we've got a beer in hand. I wanted to talk about a little bit about you and your background and where you've come from. I know a little bit about your history, but from what I understand, you've got a bit of experience under your belt. This is not your first project. Aegir is not your first project. You've worked with other breweries before.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your history and what you've been up to?
So I actually found myself in New Zealand. Before I was a brewer, I was a carpenter. Talking many, many, many years ago now. And I had a little change of career. I had
Nothing wrong with that.
little accident on site, which if you guys come down to the tap room, I'll tell you all about. But that's a whole long story. But we.
You can tell us now. If you
No. I prefer not.
Okay.
But So I moved.
We'll have to get a special.
Yeah. We need an hour slot just for that.
Okay.
So I moved down to Dunedin.
Oh, nice.
And I started working in a really big brewery called Spates, which is the Lion Nathan Group, which is it's a very large Australasian company.
Okay.
How
many years are we talking? 10 years ago?
Maybe a little bit below that, but close-ish.
Okay,
about 8-9 years.
So the craft beer revolution hadn't really started in South Africa. We had maybe Jack Black was around.
Yeah,
Boston was around.
Boston, there's definitely a couple guys. Mitchell's, they've been around for years.
Okay. Sorry, back to your story. Sorry about that.
It hadn't really kicked off properly, no. So I went and I worked in a really big brewery, and I got trained by some proper old school brewmasters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I did my initial apprenticeship.
Cool.
And it was amazing. From day one, the very first time I walked in. The first brew I actually did, I joke quite a lot about this, but the first brew I did is still double the amount of beer that I've brewed in 2 years in one batch. So it was a big brewery.
Oh my word! Okay,
it was a big brewery. So
what? I'm trying to guess how much.
We're around about
30,000 more. Liters.
Yeah, but no, 180 hectoliter batches. So,
oh my word!
It was quite big.
So you weren't solely responsible. You had some help.
Absolutely.
You don't want to stuff up that batch.
No, but it was very foolproof. The systems that we had there.
Yeah,
it was a beautiful brewery. So it's one of the last gravity-fed breweries in the Southern Hemisphere. I think it's actually the last, definitely the oldest. Everything was these big copper vessels. It was beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna Google.
Definitely.
I'm going to Google when we get home.
And they actually, they played a huge part in history for beer. So they did a lot. But it was all gravity fed. So we would pump up the grain and it would gravity feed down through the mill, down into the mash tun.
Jesus, proper old school.
Yeah, it was still, there's still levers pulled, but it was semi-automated to a degree, but mostly just gravity. Yeah.
Okay, so you were there for how long?
We were there for a couple of years, and then moved over to Scotland.
Okay.
And then I worked in a few breweries over there. They just gradually into smaller and smaller breweries. And surprisingly, the last brewery I worked in was actually smaller than the brewery that I own now.
Okay.
So, but the brewery.
What was your goal there? Why did you go to Scotland? Was it beer focus or
no? Actually, not. My partner Carrie, she was going over for studying.
Okay.
And as boys do, we follow girls. So
girls and beer.
Yeah, exactly. But then I just found myself becoming obsessed with beer, and I just wanted to get into the crux of it. I wanted to get into the absolute depth of every facet of the process. And as I went through, I just worked for Worked for a lot of master brewers. That's taught me a lot.
Just studying under them is just amazing.
Yeah, I mean my very last employee that I had, he Andrew Barnett.
Okay.
He did 9 years. He's doctored in brewing and distilling, and then he's been in the industry for countless years. So I learned a lot from him.
Imagine. Okay, let's just push pause here. But wouldn't it be amazing to have a title of Dr. Beer?
Yeah,
A doctor of beer.
yeah.
I know we've got Trevor listening. He's a
There we
different
go.
kind of doctor, but he does own a brewery, so he's the closest in our industry. But
Get his little defibrillators out and get the beer back to life when he needs to.
But just imagine introducing yourself. Oh, hi, I'm so and so, and I'm a doctor of beer.
It'd be pretty awesome.
That would, anyway. That's a beer nerd dream, like one that I hold close to my heart. That one day I'll get there. So okay, so you're in Scotland for a few more years, working for a few more different
Yeah.
brewers, working under them, and just
With the concepts of coming home to start a brewery.
okay. So you had it in the back of your mind. I need to start this brewery.
About 4 years before we even started building our brewery, I knew that I was coming home to start a brewery. So
Oh, brilliant.
I did a good couple of trips home for market research. Chatted to a lot of the guys that were open at the time. Everyone was very, very friendly, so it was great to get a little bit of help on that side. Just sort of see where the market was, if they're ready for another brewery, if
Sure.
they're ready for all those sort of things, if there was enough space,
Yeah.
what type of beers that we're getting drunk, that sort of thing. And then then went back to Scotland, fine-tuned my plan.
Once your partner finished her studies, then it was that was your kind of
Then it was go time.
finish line, and you needed to. Okay, I actually find that very interesting. That you've got a bit of restricted timeline or structure. That's you. Cool. I've got X amount of time to plan. Get your ducks in a row, and execute. And I think. And unfortunately, I see that sometimes in the South African market where, guys just go full tilt. They throw all the eggs in one basket and they start immediately, hit the ground running, which is maybe not such a bad thing. But 9 times out of 10, I feel that there's problems that come and along the way. Not that I'm saying that you haven't got any problems.
No, everybody has problems. I
Yeah.
could only imagine if I didn't have time to plan what the problems would be.
Yeah.
There's definitely, that is a big issue, especially if there's no formal training behind them. So
Yeah.
quite often you've made a couple home brews and you think, okay, right, I can do this for a living. It sounds like a fun thing to do.
Sure.
You do a very quick math of how much money you can make per fermenter, and all of a sudden
It's like you read in my diary.
yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire. Let's go
Yes.
start a brewery. But it's very much not like that at all. I even with all the planning I did, looking into that future crystal ball, it was nowhere near that.
What would you say are the 3 things you need to start a brewery? Specifically in Cape Town. Let's just narrow it down. It could be universal, but...
Definitely training.
Okay.
Understanding of what you're doing is imperative. If anybody can knock out a good beer, but when something goes wrong, you need to know why. You need to know why it went wrong. You need to be able to fix a problem and recoup your issues.
Sure.
And experience. You need to have drunk a lot of beer. You need to have brewed a lot of beer because you need to know when something's wrong with your beer so that you don't send it out to the market for the consumer to drink. And I definitely feel a lot of guys don't give the consumers enough credit. They think, oh, well, the market's still young. They won't pick up that there's, as you said, Dastel, alcohol, like the green apple, whatever. But sure, maybe some of them won't, but they will taste it and be like, I don't like this as much as that.
Yeah.
And what I have noticed is the market's very unforgiving. So if you put out a bad beer, there's very few people that give you a second chance on their first try.
And also in the same breath, the consumer might not always like what you like. You might like the most delicious banana vice, whatever. And you think it might actually be a 50 out of 50 BJCP beer. But if the consumer doesn't like it, or your area doesn't like it, then what's the point?
Absolutely. And that's where market research. That's also a huge one. That's a good point probably to put in there.
The third thing?
Third thing is, I'm trying to find a nice word.
I've got
a lot of money.
There you go. Capital. You need
a huge amount of capital.
I think I'm seeing that now in the industry where guys are running out of money, or they don't have, not through if they have any fault of their own, but they don't have a backup, so they're kind of running out of their reserves now.
Well, the cash flow.
Cash flow is a killer.
I've only just recently, well, not recently, the last couple of years, have I really grasped the importance. Everybody, I knew it was important, but I just realized how important. Cash flow is literally the do all and end all of your brewery. So if you're not selling beer fast enough, you don't have enough money to buy malt and hops for the next delivery, because most of our stuff comes in from overseas, from all over the place.
It's a stuff up, yeah.
You're waiting 2 months for that. If you miss that order, you're waiting 4 months, and you're sitting without beer, and there goes everything crumbling down.
Yeah, it's a trade, which is also which is a bit of a headache, but we'll talk about that in the second part of the show, which is, can you believe it, we've been chatting for 20 minutes. Before we talk anymore, I've run out of beer. I think we need to open another one.
All right.
What are we having?
So I think we go for a wee heavy next.
Ooh.
A nice Scottish.
A wee heavy.
A Scottish inspired beer.
Am I saying it right? Aegir?
Yeah.
Aegir? It's not Aegir, because that's in Joburg.
Well, that's up in Joburg, but there is Aegir. If you're pronouncing it properly, I probably shouldn't on the radio, just in case there's some Norwegian.
Do it.
Norwegian
I'll turn it down. You can just you and I go for it.
It's Aegir.
Aegir.
Aegir. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Has anyone come up to you and said, hello, Aegir?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Because in Norse mythology, Aegir is for those of you who don't know, he's the god of the sea. Wow. And he gets commissioned by Odin to become god of brewing. So he brews his beer under the ocean with these mermaid daughters and all these sea creatures.
Hello.
You can top that one up. We got two of them.
Let's.
Yeah.
Is
that for the end of the show?
I still have to work. So on strict instructions from the missus.
It's only 6.5%.
Don't come home like you do the previous shows. Okay, so why? Yeah, so why Aegir? I know you said it.
So I love the sea. I've dedicated pretty much my entire life to the ocean.
Okay.
Surfer. I spent my life chasing storms and seas and waves. So the ocean's a huge part of my life. And when I came across a sea god that brewed under the ocean, it was a no-brainer. I didn't care how hard it was pronounced. That was our name. That was going to be our name. But yeah, it just resonated with me very well.
It makes sense now why your brewery is established in Noordhoek. Close to the waves.
A couple hundred meters from my favorite surf spots.
Okay, that's cool. But I mean, the name, as hard as some people might think it is to say,
so
you've done it. You've presented it beautifully and very cleanly. I'm talking now about the design.
We have a lot to thank to a good friend of mine and the guy who helped us design, Terrence Kitching.
Okay.
We sat down for it was close to a year, and we went through so many different options, so many different things. And yeah, in those 4 years, Aegir Project came and went many times.
Yes.
Purely because of the pronunciation issue. Because actually the A and the E is meant to be in the one, like the encyclopedia style. But we just took the stance of, sure, you might not get it the first time, but the second time you hear it, it should really stick in there.
I'm a massive fan of the design. So yeah, kudos to you and the team for. I think that everything that you present and come out with is just, it's, for lack of a better word, it's sick.
Thanks, man.
I think that's what the youth are saying now. It's sick. What's the other thing that they say? They say it's woke. It's lit. It's woke. It's woke.
Hey,
it's
man,
lit.
I don't know.
I think we're showing our age now.
But yeah, thanks. It's nice that comes through because we do put a lot of effort into that side, and it's really important, especially coming out as a young brewery. You need to portray what you want people to taste. So all of it's down to the color of the label you're putting on there. This is a deciding factor of what the consumer is going to taste. We actually did a really cool experiment in Scotland about this, and we took 50 people, we put them in a room, and they're all self-proclaimed beer professionals.
Sure.
And I took the exact same beer.
I think is self-proclaimed beer professional. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Quite a broad.
I think that's most of us. That's
exactly.
I think I might.
It's basically anybody on the street.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I took the exact same beer, and I put 2 different labels on it. And the study we're doing was to see how color affected flavor.
Awesome.
And we nailed it down to greens being more on the hoppy side, browns being more on the malty side. And the exact same beer on different labels, it was consistent across the board with different flavor notes, which is quite interesting.
I'm just going to ask you to move your mic just a little bit. There we go. And hello, you are, of course, listening to Hashtag Beer Time on Two Oceans Vibe Radio. Slight technical issue, nothing wrong with that. What were we talking about? We're talking about how color can change a person's opinion when looking at a label on that beer style.
Absolutely.
And I think I don't even know if someone in South Africa has done that, but that's just amazing. A brewery can do that.
Yeah, it's
we can afford to put energy and time into that. That's now research.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I love the science and the chemistry behind every facet. So it's part of your senses. It's part of your senses is your visuals. So you eat with your eyes the same as you drink with your eyes. You even opening the beer, you're hearing the beer. So that's you're hearing the pour of the beer. I'm sure everybody's listened to one of those Coke adverts and heard a crack open of a can, and they almost get thirsty straight away. It's all part of it.
I had a thought now, and it really has eroded me. Oh, damn it! It was something good. It was something really good.
Was it about the wee heavy?
It was. Well, we can talk about the wee heavy. Let's talk about the wee heavy. As all things, beer things. My train comes back to me later. But when I think wee heavy, I'm thinking obviously Scottish, a little winter warmer. Something to kind of
absolutely
warm the shackles.
It's a 90 shilling.
90 shilling.
Excuse me. So it was a way for the English. They started taxing brewers on alcohol percentage.
Okay.
And a 90 shilling was the highest tax you'd be paying on the beer. So it was a way for somebody to walk into a bar, and this is well before distribution was a thing. So it was sort of either the tavern made the beer or the beer was made really close by.
Yes.
The person traveling through would order a 90 shilling, and they'd know that was the highest premium beer in the establishment. So you still see them around. Scotland, you'll see 80 shillings, and it's just different taxations of per barrel.
I like that.
So 80 shillings is very common, but 90 shilling is slow. It's a lot rarer.
Okay.
And it's sort of been revitalized by the whole craft beer movement in Scotland. So 80 shilling was very dominant for a long time, and now in the last sort of maybe 5-10 years, guys have started coming up with the 90 shillings back onto the shelf. So this is what I brought back with me, and the label is a proper Scotsman paddling out in one of the biggest storms ever in the ocean, and to anybody else that's insane, but to him it's just a wee heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that's our play on the word, and a wee heavy is it's like an alternative name for a 90 shilling, because usually the alcohol is much higher than anything else. So as a Scotsman, it's just a wee heavy. It's just a wee.
It's just a
wee heavy.
A wee heavy.
Forgive me for my ridiculous accent. Well, I do love this. It's not something it's very common in South Africa. It's not something that you see.
No.
It's also what I tend to find, what I think is still happening today in the trade, is that people are afraid to drink ales because they think an ale is a warm, flat English pub beer that you pull from a cask.
Yeah.
There's that negative perception. I would say that this is more British. This is more, well, Scottish, obviously, but this is more along those lines of being not highly carbonated, more low carbonation, high alcohol.
I spent majority of my career in cask ale,
Okay.
which is your hand pulls that you're talking about.
Mm.
And sure, they're not carbonated, but they get a nice thick creamy head on it. Slight carbonation, but they got a nice thick creamy head, and it's pulled through by hydraulics and a pump. And we think of room temperature beer as like this hot, flat beer, but you got to remember in wintertime, room temperature is around about that 12, 14, sometimes a little bit higher, but 12, 14 degrees is a really good temperature for this specific beer. So we kept the carbonation very low. As you can see, there's almost very low carbonation, but
yes,
nice thick creamy head still. So trying to
replicate. Big fan of the color. Big fan of the.
Yeah, that's sort of reddish amber coming through. But yeah, I'm really proud of this beer. It's lots of your sultana, raisiny character coming through.
Does have a bit of a little bit of alcohol that comes through because it is 6.5.
It should be warming.
That's the word.
Warming, yeah.
It got a bit of warming,
but this beer,
nothing too unpleasant.
It should definitely warm you a little bit after a pint or two. You'll be very nice.
You'll feel it.
But yeah,
it's on fleek, as Curtis Murray said.
Fleek.
On fleek.
All right.
And that's apparently what the youth are using, on fleek.
I'll just have to get the dictionary out during the break.
Cool. That's one of our tasting league captains who's obviously a lot cooler than us.
Yeah. I'm more educated.
Yes. Well, you said break. I think we should take a quick break because we're halfway through the show and we're having way too much fun. So let's play a song now. I love how things work their way into stories. Things happen for a reason. But anyway, I'll explain to you why the song is playing. It just happened to be here on the top of my shelf, top of my list. But there's a reason why it's here. So we will see you guys after the song. I'll explain to you why I like it so much. Okay, cool. See you. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.
Pinky and the brain.
Pinky and the Brain.
Talk about showing your age, man.
Those Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. That was the best. That's my youth right there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. You are listening to a very mature adults radio show called Beer Time, where we don't talk about Animaniacs. Well, I wouldn't say mature or adults. But hello, welcome back. We've got Rory in the studio from Aegir Project. Right. Anyone want to take a guess why I played Lady Gaga, Paparazzi? Well, you can take a guess, but I'm not going to hear your guesses. But I'm going to tell you why. Because we've got a celeb in the studio, someone who was on the front cover of On Tap magazine. My goodness. And that's I know that there's a queue of people wanting to get on the front cover. My name is up there, I hope. But how did you manage that? How did you get on the front cover?
You've just taken all my face for the radio jokes.
Really? Because that is that was a good shot. That was steamy, man. That was, you even had some malt on your beard, and
that photo actually got sent by accident on our behalf. It was we were asked for some photos, and we sent a Dropbox link over, and somehow that got seen.
Lovely.
Out of the vault.
No, it's it was a good. I think it was their first issue where they had the rebrand, the redesign for On Tap, and it's on fleek. It's lit. It's dope. No.
Yeah, the magazine's getting
It's getting good
it's just
traction.
getting better and better and better. Hey?
It's got
great.
this latest
see.
issue has got I'm going to swear now, Fuck Off Politica, which is a South African rock band, for lack of a knowing the music industry. I should probably know my music industry if I'm on radio, but they have their Fuck Off lager, which I believe Devil's Peak contract brew for them. And I think the whole reason why they're on the cover is that there are a few other bands that are getting their brand out there, contract brew. You haven't had any bands approach you, have you?
No, not bands. No, we haven't had any bands.
Ooh, who has approached you?
We get quite a few requests. Almost
B grade, A grade celebrities, or
no, none of that. But we're just too small. We're too small to accommodate it. We barely keep up with our demand as is. So we're just unable. We're physically unable to.
There's nothing wrong with that.
We're a very small brewery.
Well, that does lead us into the second half of the show, where we want to talk about a little bit about your plan, what you've got planned for the next few years, and your route to market. But I just want to check quickly, how many more beers do we have?
We got another 2.
Okay, so let's crack open the next one. What should we have?
Well, we got 2 growlerfuls, so you got 2 liters, 4 liters of beer to get through, which we should manage.
Heaven help
I think
me.
it's only a 6% and a 5.5%, so we should be
Okay.
alright.
Cheapest.
So up next, we've actually got in our nice hydro flask, which is a beautiful growler, nice double.
It's a
wall.
growler that I haven't seen, and it looks like, for the people listening, I mean that's everyone. It looks like a coffee flask with a nice silver linings and finishings, and
Yeah, so it's stainless steel, double walled. Stainless steel, vacuum sealed in between those two walls,
nice.
and it keeps your beer nice and cold and light.
It does look light.
So you fill this up, go for a hike or a cycle, chuck it out the bag, and you're having ice cold beer on top of the mountain or at the end of your hike or
Amen,
end of
brother.
your surf. It's great. It's obviously costs a little bit more than the glass, but it's beautiful. So hydro flask.
That is a thing of beauty. I mean, it is.
It really, truly.
And I suppose
truly
if you pack it in your backpack, and let's say you drop it on
and
a
if
mount, on a
you're
hike,
looking for an excuse for the missus, you just say it's for soup. Keeps things warm as well. Coffee, teas.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, we all know the real reason.
it is beautiful.
It's so all the way through. Apparently the secret's in the lid as well. So the lid's double sealed and all the way right through.
So can someone buy this at your brewery?
Yes. We've only got a few left. We'll have to get some more. But
Well, let's crack it open.
yes,
What's in there?
So this is
Oh.
crackling. There we
we
go. So this is Giant IPA.
Giant IPA.
But it is our latest Giant.
Is this fresh? Say it's fresh from the...
It's literally kegged on Friday. So it's super fresh.
Oh my word.
We've
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like honey. My word. Oh my sweet mother's milk.
We have changed up the hopping schedule just slightly on this batch.
I've poured a lot of beers on the show. A lot of beers. And I want to say that pouring this beer right now was probably one of the best things ever to happen on the show. That was just, it looked like golden syrup coming out of the cowboy.
Cheers.
Not the cowboy.
Growler.
That wee heavy is kicking in. Oh my words, this is amazing. Ew. Okay, so this is your
This is our
Giant
Giant
IPA.
IPA. So this is
What's on
our-
the what's
our
on the
core range IPA.
label? Remind me. It's
So we've just changed it up now.
Okay.
So it's still the pot. And a huge part of Aegir and who he is, most of the references are to his pot, which is actually, again, another whole long story, but he sends Thor off on this mission to go steal a pot because the gods are very thirsty. They need to drink a lot of it.
Yes, I can imagine.
So this pot that he steals from a giant is said to be 1 mile wide and 1 mile deep, and that's what he brews his beer in. So on the cover of
that's a big
label,
batch.
yeah, it's a fair sized batch.
Yes.
We're getting there.
Yes, yes.
But on the label, we've actually got Aegir himself standing over his gigantic pot, throwing in hops. And a lot of the other references are to the sailors, which are the Viking sailors. They're very seafaring, so they pay ode to Aegir every trip they do. And if they get caught in rough seas, they consider that they're in Aegir's pot, and they fear that they're going to get drunk by the gods. So
Not ideal situation to be in.
yeah. So in his pot, there's a big whirlpool, and there's a whole bunch of ships getting sucked down, and he's throwing his hops in, and they're all getting boiled up, and they're going to get drunk by the gods. Because Aegir himself is a sea giant. He's this massive sea giant.
Yes, I suppose if his mash tun is a mile wide by a mile
Yeah.
deep,
It's
you need to be a large lad.
stir that in by hand.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
But yeah, so this is our part of our core range, the Giant IPA, Simcoe Amarillo, and this batch we've
You've
actually
got 4 in your core range. Is that right?
Five.
Five. Sorry.
Yeah. But we've just slightly changed this in the last couple brews. Semi out of necessity, semi out of just wanting to dabble and see what happens.
Nice.
But we've added just a touch of mosaic hop, so it's Amarillo, Simcoe, and like a light dusting of mosaic in the dry hop.
Where's that mosaic? Is it dry hopping? Or?
Dry hop, yeah.
Okay.
So this beer was actually sort of inspired by the Dogfish Head 90-minute continuous hop.
Yes.
The amount of hop
does
additions
have
in this is absolutely crazy.
But this beer does, I said it on a few weeks ago on the show, that you can taste an American IPA versus South African or an Australian or New Zealand IPA because of the hops that are used.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is actually spot on to what's
I'm really
let's just
proud
say
of it.
it's half Atlantic, half
Yeah,
American. It's there.
It's very much on the West Coast American side. So you get your resins, you get those marmalades, those grapefruits, tangerines. That jawline really sort of
does have that
heightens it all
bitterness, but it's not a bitterness that is just unpleasant. It's not there.
that two-dimensional
Yeah.
bitterness. It's a three-dimensional, and it's got all those flavors that back it up. We actually get a lot of people coming in saying, I don't like IPAs, and the first thing I do is I pour them an IPA because I just
And you tell them it's a lager.
yeah, I just give it to them and say,
No, this is our lager. Drink this.
sometimes I have to coax them into it by pouring the steaming and saying you can wash it down with this if you don't like it. And
Okay.
I will pay for the pint if you don't like it.
Okay.
But to be honest, I've had 100% success rate. Everybody that's tried it.
I can tell you right now, I'm in love in this beer. This is fantastic. Let's shift gears a bit because this program is going so quickly. I wanted to talk about your whole distribution plan. I know that one of the reasons why I've struggled to get you on the show is because you've said you're so busy. Because I know that there's a lot of other projects that you've started within this Aegir project. One of the big, I suppose, stories from 2018, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you've stopped dealing with the trade. You're not selling bottles
Distribution.
to bottle shops. You're not sending kegs out. You're done with that.
Correct.
that this year?
We've got a very handful of guys that we still do.
Okay. I know Greg from Banana Jam is
Yeah,
very
he's-
persistent.
They're doing good things. They're really looking after the beer properly. They're one of a handful of guys that are really looking after beer properly and serving it as it should be.
Yes.
So I'll always support Banana Jam. They're doing good things.
Cool.
The other guys that we do is Roland and Woodstock Liquors.
Okay.
But they actually come down and collect the beer from us, which is really handy. Marnie actually goes for a surf every couple of weeks and just collects stock on the way. So
Nothing wrong with that.
it's real handy. But yeah, so our take is for a long time I was chasing the investment to go bigger,
Sure.
Chase a bigger brewery. Cause
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to even pretend. The brewery I'm in now, it's not efficient in the sense of
It's a 750 liters?
1,000
liter capacity.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, so
brew pots.
we sometimes go a little bit higher, but brew
Yeah.
length, yeah.
Yeah.
So we but 1,000 liter is our average
Okay.
brew. But yeah, I was chasing the bigger, more efficient production because beer it's all about efficiencies.
Yes.
And almost
Scaling up, and that's...
absolutely
yeah.
almost any businessman will tell you need to. It's all about large scale, high volume, and distribution.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from that. So a lot of misconceptions of people is saying that a large brewery you lose quality. That's absolute rubbish. In
Yeah.
fact, a larger brewery actually gives you better quality in a lot of other senses.
I'd imagine the efficiency goes up.
Absolutely, but the thing is, when you've got a lot of people to look after, you start to tailor your recipes to your mid-range market instead of keeping
Those
it
bulls
small.
don't pay themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I take my hat off to anybody that's doing that.
Yeah.
And but we've taken a slightly different approach,
Okay.
where we are focusing on selling the beer ourselves, so we can keep it small, and I can brew the beers that I want to drink.
Yes.
And that way, people are coming in and tasting something different. For instance, up next we got our marshmallow stout that we'll taste. But I get to do those sort of fun things that I really enjoy brewing, and it keeps me inspired. It keeps me on my toes. Keeps me creative.
So 95% of sales comes from you directly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, is that, to the people listening, to brewers listening, is that a financially viable option? Can you sustain yourself as a brewer by just selling from your brew pub?
Well, put it this way: if I had to sell 100% of my beer to distribution,
Yes.
I wouldn't have lasted 2 or 3 months. We would have closed our doors.
Wow.
Um,
Just because
just because
you're losing out on that profit.
Yeah, your margins on distribution, paying a distributor to pick up your beer, and I'm not taking anything away from a distributor. They're doing a lot of work for
Yeah.
very small margin.
Exactly.
They don't make a lot of money,
Yeah.
but they're taking a cut of your wholesale price, which already is super low. Otherwise, next thing you know, you're paying 70 rand for a pint in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But they have their overheads. They have everything that costs to them. So I'm not taking anything away from them. But
Yeah.
by doing this, we're able to actually sustain ourselves and keep our capacity down. So I didn't have to chase that investment any longer. I just tailored what we got to make it as efficient as possible. And yeah, the volumes that we're doing are very small. So we need to make it as profitable as possible. And
but within that self, it's a success. It's
absolutely.
It's you're getting. It's that whole 80-20 principle. You're focusing on the 80% that's bringing in you the most amount of money. You're ignoring that other stuff that's just not even bringing in anything.
We're talking about cash flow. I mean, imagine sitting waiting for 3 months for somebody to pay your bill versus it coming in within a week.
Exactly.
So you have that. We're not making more money, but our cash flows become positive, so I can afford.
But you're paying back your loans or whatever you need, and it's a lot less stressful. You might not be getting that big numbers that some of the big brewers are getting, that footprint, but in terms of a financial viable business for you and your sanity, let's not deny that. It seems like it's the right way to go.
That it's single-handedly the best decision we've ever made.
Okay.
As you said, that 80-20 split, I was spending up to 80% of my time for less than 10% of of profits.
Yeah.
Stressing out, worrying about quality, worrying about things. It's
and
putting out fires.
But it happens everywhere. And I was chatting to another good friend last week, and he was saying, like, he's still waiting 3 months now for a restaurant guy to pay him for his kegs. And it's just, that's one spot. It's a stress that you just don't need. And it's just like...
So maybe you should have a fourth point on that, starting a brewery. You need to be rock solid, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many times I've had tears in the eyes from worrying about things. So...
We've all been there.
Yeah, you got to... but this business plan that we've taken now and we've reshaped the business to handle, it's hands down the best thing we've ever done.
Well, talk to us about your new projects, which is...
In Constantia.
Is it a new brew pub or a new pub?
It's so we're calling it the Aegir Project Ale House.
Nice.
It's we're still waiting on liquor license, so we're still a couple months out.
Okay.
And that's going to be in Constantia.
Yep.
And we're going to have 10 taps and 2 hand pools. So 2 cask ales and 10 taps.
First question, where are you going to get those 10 beers from?
Well, not having to distribute means I can really play around.
Okay.
And I can have some pretty fun out there beers that we normally wouldn't be able to do. So I'm hoping that we'll fill all those taps ourselves. Majority of the time, we'll definitely have a guest tap.
Yeah.
So we'll have a rotational guest tap that all our friends around. Got a lot of guys making some great beer.
Collabs, anything like that?
Exactly,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So we'll fill them creatively.
Yes.
With there's plenty of beer out there it's quite hard for the consumer to find. So this is our chance to bring it to the consumer.
And you're in nice spots. You're in a good spot, Constantia. It's high foot traffic, tourism.
It's
whereabouts is it?
It's
by the way?
on Eitzig Wine Farm.
Okay.
On the Eitzig
Oh
estate.
well, that's.
You got a beautiful view of the mountains.
That's part of the
wine farm.
the tour bus route. I mean, come on, you're going to get people stopping,
Yeah, it'll be really nice,
including myself.
It'd be really nice because Cape Town seems to be quite lazy. They complain that we're too far away. So
Yes.
so now they don't have to cross the mountain. We're that 15 minutes closer to everyone.
Well, it's definitely going to help me. So you'll probably see me at the Constantia one more than anywhere else. We still have another beer to get through,
Yes.
and let's neck this. It's. Can I just say this
At the end
is so far this is my favorite beer. This is.
Cheers.
I'm blown away. Okay.
All right. So
You mentioned it before, and I didn't think I'd have any because I thought it might all be done, and I was bleak that I couldn't make the opening. But tell us what we're going to have now.
So this is a beer that I've thought about for a while now, and it's just a way for. This is sort of what I'm starting to do with the no distribution side of things. When I used to worry about making sure that we had the full
Oh my word!
the full range constantly available for all the suppliers.
So now this is a growler, glass growler, traditional, and it's got beautiful. Am I correct? These are wolves?
Yeah. So those are
Were any
Odin's.
wolves harmed in the making of this?
Absolutely not. No.
There we go. Shout out to the Tasting League.
So that is Odin's 2 wolves that they by his side at all times. They're named after Ravenous and Greed, and they basically just consume. There's a little
Dude, this
poem
is-
on the back here.
Sick, man.
So just relating back to the Norse mythology.
Okay, let me read the poem quickly. The Ravenous, or do you know it off by heart?
No, you come.
I'm putting you on the spot there. On quiet battlefields after the fighting, growling and biting, Odin's 2 wolves roam. Flesh and bone is all that remains for his beasts, while banquets and feasts are held by the fallen. They sing in the halls of Valhalla. They howl into the lonely night. Oh,
So
Goosebumps.
We're playing off the whole growler, wolves growl,
and Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, obviously.
Come on. I feel like playing a little bit of Game of
We even
Thrones.
got a little raven on one of our labels.
There we go.
But so Odin's two wolves, they go to the battlefields and they just feast on all the dead, essentially.
Cheapers.
But yeah, so as you say, we try to do whatever we do. We try to do as best as we can, and it took us a long time to get that right. And I feel Terrence, the designer who we've been working with, he's absolutely hit that out of the ballpark. But back to the beer. So this is a marshmallow stout, marshmallow milk stout.
What possessed you to make a marshmallow stout? Quickly, we're going to go over the 1 hour mark, but you know what? Fuck it, I don't care.
I'm a big fan of dessert wine. We're in wine country, so I thought, hey, let's do a dessert beer.
Nice.
And it literally just popped into my head one day, and I was chatting to Carrie about this, and I just said, hey, why don't we do a marshmallow stout? And she was like, that sounds amazing. So what we did was we brewed it with some marshmallows, but as most of the listeners will know, your marshmallows, they just basically get eaten by the yeast, and there's no flavor left at all.
Okay.
So what we
That's
did
good
is,
to know.
Yeah. So what we did is we took Madagascar bourbon vanilla pods,
Okay.
and we de-seeded them. We made an extract out of that, and we sat down with Cocoa Affair, with the chocolate maker there, and we found the best way of extraction of the chocolate. So it's more of like a schmore than a marshmallow stout. It's like a schmore stout. And we took the...
Doesn't kind of have the appeal, if you said schmorschnaut.
No. Marshmallow, it's definitely got that big vanilla stuff. I mean, that's what marshmallows are. It's sugar and vanilla. Let's not beat around the bush.
Say that quickly 10 times. Schmorschnaut. Okay, anyway. Yeah, go on.
So we took the cocoa nibs, they roasted them, and we ground them down to a very fine... They almost became butter. And while they're still warm... Threw them into the fermenter, and we chucked in all our vanilla extract, and obviously the lactose from your the milk stout side of things to keep that sweetness. Otherwise, your yeast will eat up all that sugar, and your beer will be dry. So that's a way for us to keep it nice and sweet and full-bodied. So you should get a lot of the chocolates and vanilla sort of flavors coming through. I
am getting the raw cocoa nib, like the dusty dark cocoa powder.
Yeah.
But I am trying to pick up that vanilla pod, that the marshmallow sweetness.
You'll get on the palate very strong.
Okay, I'm gonna have a little sip. Enough talk, damn it.
Drink your beer. But just a really nice... I feel beer needs to be beer first, and then subtle flavors of whatever you're brewing it with needs to be in the background.
Yes.
In different circumstances. There's two ways I was going to go with this. I was either going to go like 13%, 14%.
What is this percentage?
This is 5.5.
Okay.
And decadence, where you only have 100 and 200 ml sort of pour, and that's all you need.
Yes.
Or I was going to go where you could have 2 or 3 pints and be comfortable at 5.5%.
You lead me on to something else without even finishing this subject, but I know that you had that other 750ml bottle with the raven on it. Remind me what that was called?
Our RIS.
And how, what percentage of that?
That was 9%, so quite moderate for a Russian Imperial.
I kind of feel that we haven't got to that stage yet where there aren't that specialty beers in the markets. Brewdog does it really well, where they have their 60% Heaven Hill Russian Imperial Stout, which is retailing for 100. Last time I checked, 180 rand. A 340ml bottle, which is about $12 in the States, but we don't have that in South Africa, and I kind of feel like, why? Where's that? What are your thoughts on that 750ml bottle specialty beer?
I'm all for it. Our RIS was received very well from the public.
Small batch, high alcohol.
It's
like
an
game when you try and sell it for
in aging beer.
Too much.
So the RIS was aged for 7 months in Pinot Noir barrel. We're in wine country, so I love wine. Working with wine winemakers is a no-brainer for me. So we aged it in Pinot Noir for 7 months. It was back in steel for another 2 or 3 months. And then we bottled it up, and it's been in bottle for just under 2 years now, I think. And I actually cracked one up 3 weeks ago. For those of you who have one, right now it's the best I've ever drunk it.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if you should age it much more. Who knows? It's a
If anyone's listening and they have one, you're welcome to drink it on
As long-
hashtag beer time.
I've only got 6 left in my cellar, and but
You shouldn't even said that.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't have said that.
So I'll open up another one in a week or so and
Okay.
see where we're at. And but the last time I drank it was the best I've had it so far.
Well, back to this beer, the Marshmallow Starts. Ooh, it's hitting home. And it's, you know, what I'm picking up from what we've chatted about today in this last hour is that you are probably one of a few brewers in South Africa that's in a very favorable position in terms of, and this is very generally speaking, but in terms of being financially okay, having a very popular branded product, but also having that room to experiment. And I say that room figuratively and literally. You've got space to make a marshmallow stout. You can age it for 2 months, 4 months, and there's not that pressure on you.
So what
It seems like you are
coming from where I've been in the UK and in New Zealand, beer, we're a good 10, 15 years behind the market over there.
You reckon as much as 10 to 15 years?
But I think we'll gain that in the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
The way things are moving, the beer quality in this country has accelerated rapidly. If you asked me a year ago where we were sitting, I would have said we nowhere even near global scale. But right now, there's some guys making some amazing beers. The quality has just shot up so quickly. And it's really exciting. It's an exciting place to be because that means that we can really experiment. We can really play. We're no longer having to worry about converting a SAB drinker to a craft beer. We can actually give the converted something unique, something fun, something to drink and enjoy.
What is your outlook on the South African craft beer industry for the next year? Let's keep. I was going to say 5 years, but let's keep it at a year. What do you foresee happening in the near future for craft brewers?
It's quite interesting.
Because you have been referred to as the druid of Cape Town craft beer.
I don't know if that's a compliment or
No, it's a compliment. A wizard is a very good compliment.
It's quite a tricky question, and all I've seen is we're following trends. We're not, as I say, we're not far behind what's happening. You got to remember the guys that I'm saying we're that far behind.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for 40, 50 years. They've got it dialed in.
Yes.
And we've only been going, for the last 7, 8 years?
10
years.
max.
Yeah, so we've built up a lot in a short time. And as I said in the beginning of the show, we everything about brewing is it doesn't matter how well you know something. You got to brew a beer 100 times before you actually that dot and that dot connects. So even now, not to go on a different tangent, but my previous employer, I'd go to him and he was a doctorate in brewing and distilling, and I'd say to him hey, this is a new paper I've just read. He knew it was wrong, but he would just say to me he's like, okay, cool, let's talk this out, and we go through it. And then at the end of it, he's like, no, that's not right. This is actually correct. And that only comes with time.
Yeah.
The only way to be a good brewer is to brew a lot of beer. So we've got a lot of room to grow. I think we're gonna have a couple rough times. We're gonna have a bit of a rough year.
Yeah.
Just with financially managing. I think there'll be a lot of guys, a lot of breweries struggling. But I think it will definitely up everyone's game.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to up their game, and beer. I'm really excited. I think in the next year, beer quality is going to be on a whole nother level.
Well, if I can weigh in with my professional opinion, tracing back to our earlier conversation in the show, you know, having listened to your story in getting the experience under your belt, working on that project to start it, and taking the time and energy for the long haul, and working towards a successful project in a brewery, I'd hope to see that in the future for South African craft beer. And it's almost, I'm trying to think, because you've almost taken your time. You haven't jumped straight into it, and you've worked it out meticulously. You've planned it. Like I said earlier in the show, you've got your own problems.
I'm glad it comes across as that.
Yeah, but if I can foresee, if I can play on your druid or wizard imagination, if I can foresee the future, I would almost see a very successful brew pub industry establishing itself within the craft beer markets. I think
it's definitely a culture that I think needs to grow,
because we kind of have in the pubs or the breweries in their own small little towns, which I thought would have happened a little bit more quicker.
Well, I can't
more quickly, sorry.
I can't urge enough breweries to do this. It's for no other reason than you get to look after the quality of your beer.
Yeah.
I'd be devastated if somebody tasted a beer on tap at us that I wasn't happy with.
Yeah.
So every morning that we put a new keg on, we'll taste it and make sure that it's good. It's just a way to, it's a quality assurance.
In a weird kind of way, you're actually setting yourself up for expansion later on.
Absolutely.
But like you're kind of like, wait, let me make sure that my friends, family, and the people around in my area are 100% converted.
Absolutely. So we've got a really, I mean, as I say, we're super small. We're a modest little brewery where I mean, I don't think half of the beer drinkers even know who we are. But what I've focused on is just making sure that the people that come to us are happy and will come 100 times. So we'd rather, like, we've got a good foundation. I don't want to go and put a skyscraper on that foundation. I'd rather it be rock solid and just build the first floor or the second floor. We're all about the long term. I want to be here in 30 years, 50 years.
And I applaud you for that. And it reminds me of an essay by Mr. Kevin Kelly, 1,000 True Fans. If you can get 1,000 true fans, that's what you focus on, and you will be, no matter what industry, you'll be successful. I'm playing around ad lib with that saying, with his essay. But anyway,
that's exactly our aim, is to try and get people to be confident in our beer that they will come back 100 times.
Well, I can tell you right now, I am one of those fans. Can you believe it? It's 1:10. We've gone 10 minutes over the show, but only because this beer has been absolutely amazing. That's it. That's the show. I'm trying to think what else we can talk about, but I think we've wrapped up everything nicely. Is there anything else that's happening on your calendar? Anything that people should know about if they want to come visit?
We've got a lot of fun things lined up. We've got a couple fun beers on the way. There's
nice.
The Winter Beer Festival happening at the Castle of all places.
Okay, so
which is pretty exciting.
Thank you for reminding me. You're going to be there.
Yeah, so it's one of the few festivals that we do.
That's what I was going to talk about. Pudding beers. I'm going to see 2018. We're going to see more pudding beers.
Absolutely, definitely.
I think at the Woodstock Winter Beer Festival, we're going to see pudding beers. So we'll see you there.
Absolutely, we'll be there. Who would pass up a festival at a castle? I mean, that's amazing. But it'll be exciting, and we'll try to do what we usually do and have none of our core range and just have full blown fun beers. That's what it's all about. So it'll be good. Then we got we're trying to line up everything for the next few months of different, exciting stuff.
Well, I'm looking forward to your new brewery opening. Can you give us a bit of a time frame for that? Your new ale pub?
We're expecting it in the next 2 months.
Okay.
We're expecting it
These
in 2
things
months.
take time, but you will get there.
Lots of
Before
red tape.
summer.
Lots and lots of red tape. But yeah, we should be open before summer. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much. Can you believe it's done?
Yeah,
We're done.
From being nervous disco hands to
to just rambling on. Hey, it just happens. But I want to thank you very much, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get you on the show again before the year is up, because I really enjoy this. I really enjoyed the beers that you're making, and I'm sure you're going to be making more beers in the future, in this year. So
yeah, I know I've got plenty more to talk about.
Yes, and you know it's awesome that you are representing craft beer in South Africa. So thank you very much.
No, thanks
for doing a great job.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
To everyone listening, to our beer fans, to people around the world listening on the podcast, thank you very much. And yeah, this has been an awesome show. Let's play out with some music. What's
Are you gonna go Lady Gaga again?
No. Oh, there's One Direction here, but we won't.
We'll skip that guy. Yeah?
We'll skip that. Yeah, let's play something a little bit cooler. Let's have a look here. Taylor Swift? Nah.
I'm fine with a bit of Taylor.
Do you like a bit of Taylor? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen.
Depends. Which song? What are we talking about here?
Okay, here we go. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, when you're laying down to rest tonight, let's hope you think of us in your wildest dreams. Okay, that's cheesy. We'll see you guys later. Enjoy, and we'll see you guys again soon. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for #BeerTime. That's #BeerTime written out in full. Hope you enjoyed the show, and check you next time. Cheers.